All right, before I turn it over to the chair of our teacher education department, Dr. Debbie Jackson, she has a brief activity we'd like to do with you through Poll Everywhere. And we'll be communicating via text message. So grab your phones and be ready. And I'll give you that information here in a minute. I'm going to bring it up on my screen. Don't stress, it's not for a grade. Okay. There we go. Okay, she's charging you today with one question, so I'll give you some time to give it some thought. What word or words describe your best teachers? Okay, so give it some thought. When you're ready, open a text message. The number is 22333. To join this section, please type in Debbie Jackso, there's no N on the back of that, 919, and it's on your screen. Let me give you a few minutes to get yourselves ready. And after you join the session with Debbie Jackso 919, you can enter your word or words one at a time. Okay, is everybody okay with the information? I'm going to take the screen down and allow Dr. Jackson to share her screen.
Thank you, Claire. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for spending time with us this evening. Before I show the Poll Everywhere, I want to take a minute to introduce some folks who are here with us today. Many of the folks will be introduced as we go along, but Dean Zach is here. So he's a Dean of the College of Education, as well as our Associate Deans, Dr. Tashelle Banks and Dr. Brian Uskill. So they are the Dean's office in the College of Education and Human Services. Dean Zach, did you want to do a welcome?
Absolutely. Thank you, Debbie. Welcome to all of you. And I hope this session will be informational for all of you. And if there are any questions any of us can answer, please don't hesitate either on this call or by email at any point. Okay. Anyway, welcome.
Thanks, Zach. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Some of your responses have been coming in. Here it is. All right, so you all can see this word cloud that's changing, correct? Yes, okay. So I'll give it just a minute. As you are typing your words in, the screen is changing. The bigger words are the words that multiple people have put into the Poll Everywhere. So I'll give this another minute and wait till the screen stops changing. All right, thank you all for your participation in the activity. If your word isn't there yet, it may change again, but it seems to have slowed down. So the goals for today are to provide some information about being a teacher. The title of our event is Be a Teacher, Know Your History, Change the World. And I think if we look at these words that came up, caring is the largest word that came up. So we all had some caring, compassionate, supportive, dedicated, advocates, passionate. Those are some of the words that we use to describe our best teachers. So as you consider a future job career, those are things that you could be and ways that you could impact people as a teacher. I've asked many groups of people to do this type of activity and or to think about their best teacher, and they can all remember their best teachers. They can all also remember they're not as best teachers, but the impact I think that teachers have on people and people's lives is extraordinary. Lots of people that I know were impacted in really positive ways by teachers. So what we want to do today, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Claire, if you could go back to the PowerPoint, I'll briefly go through the agenda, and then we'll move on to the next pieces. So again, thank you for participating in the activity. We did some introductions at the beginning. We'll continue to do introductions throughout so that you'll know everybody that's here. Dr. John Schaefer is going to speak in just a minute about why he became a teacher and why to become a teacher. He's a special education professor at Cleveland State University in the Department of Teacher Education. We have a panel for you that includes 2 CSU students, a CSU graduate who's newly in teaching, and then one of our star faculty members is also on that panel. Dr. Brian Yusko will facilitate that. We will give you some details about the teacher preparation programs at CSU. And then, as Claire mentioned at the end, we'll do conclusions. You'll have some contact information if you need it. We have all of your information. And then we do have some giveaways. So I will go ahead and introduce Dr. Schaefer. Dr. Schaefer, as I mentioned, is a special ed faculty member here at Cleveland State University. His research focuses on students with moderate to intensive needs in collaboration with parents and other professionals in special education. He also, before coming to CSU, worked in several K-12 teaching positions, working with students with a variety, from a variety of backgrounds. So without any further ado, Dr. Schaefer, would you like to address the group?
Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Jackson asked me to talk today a little bit about, why I wanted to be a teacher, or some reasons that you might want to be a teacher. I've just got done with about 30 individual one-on-one sessions with our students that are finishing their student teaching their practicum. And the first question that I ask many of them as a practice for an interview, because you will get this someday, is why do you want to be a teacher? To have them talk about what their own motivation is, which always makes me think back to mine. And there are some common themes that I see come across regularly. But I think one of my students just yesterday put it the best. We just finished this really strange semester, a semester like none other, that the pandemic has really changed our K-12 schools and our communities, has impacted so many of our students in so many ways. And a lot of the students that I've worked with this semester just had a real wake up to teaching is a lot harder on the other side of the desk. It's a lot different being the teacher than the student. And so when I ask them, why do you want to be a teacher? It comes with, why are you accepting this hard work? What are you getting from it? And one of my students, Nicolette, who would be very disappointed and embarrassed if I told you that she said this, she said that the burden is great. It's greater than she expected, but that the opportunity is so much greater, right? I could not have put it better myself. Why to be a teacher? The real answer is because you have a unique opportunity like none other to really impact the lives of people, to impact the lives of our students, to impact the lives of their families, to impact the lives of everyone around their communities, right? I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my own story, and not my story as a teacher, because I did have many really meaningful relationships with students that really changed the course of my life. But it all started with the most impactful relationships I've had with teaching is when I was a student. When I started in special ed, I was in 3rd grade. I was still completely illiterate and could not read or write my own name. And I was very lucky that there were some dedicated professionals who recognized that challenge was not just born of my behavior, that was not born of my attitude, that I really genuinely needed something different. And it was those people that recognized and were able to provide that really changed the entire course of my life. Without that, I'm sure that I would not have continued very far in school at all, right? Let alone had the opportunity to go to college or pursue the career that I have now, which has absolutely transformed my ability to impact the lives of others and our community. And I know I talk a lot about special ed, but I don't want to just focus on that. That my personal interests in advocacy and in politics are deeply rooted in Mr. Hill's 11th grade American government class. Was really transformative in my life. That every day that I left statistics in my PhD program, I thought about and I thanked Miss Blevins, my 6th grade math teacher, who made me believe that I could do math and took away the fear of failing at math. Right? There are teachers across the spectrum, no matter what it is that you're interested in, you're going to have that opportunity as a teacher to really change lives. And there is no more important time than now. That's one big theme that I learned from talking to all of these special ed students that are pursuing teaching now, is that we're facing in schools right now, we're facing just a number of historic crises that we are grappling as a society with the impacts, really asking important but uncomfortable questions about racial equity in this country, right? We have young people across the country who are young people of color who are afraid of and have good reason to mistrust authorities in our society. And we can have an answer to that. We can contribute positively to that. We're struggling with, in teaching in general, a loss of professional status for our occupation. In a neighboring Cleveland Heights, we have teachers going on strike right now for fair compensation for healthcare, which doesn't seem like it should be a thing, right? We should easily be paying teachers well and providing for them treating this like a career. I regularly see in popular culture that we get scapegoated sometimes as a cause rather than the solution to societal ills, which in my mind is so backwards, right? That we are positioned to have the opportunity to be one of the most powerful solutions to anything that is, plaguing our society. And more recently and really transformatively, we're struggling with this global pandemic that has changed how we're interacting with our students in a really deep way. That I watch my students trying to form relationships with their students and their mentors, and it is more difficult in this moment. But it is an opportunity, as Nicolette told me, that even when the burden is great, the opportunity is greater. It has been fun to watch everyone experience what special ed teachers regularly experience, that COVID makes you be adaptable. It makes you be flexible. It makes you try new things, to think outside the box, to be reflective, and to evaluate what is going to work for the students that you're working with. Everyone, in a sense, right now has a bunch of different and special needs that they had not before, because we've entered this really strange world. So just to kind of conclude, I would say that the most important reason that you could go into this occupation that has never been more important than this moment is that opportunity to impact a child's life, to make that critical difference. And I think when you look into your own, you will see those people who really did change your trajectory, that without them, you would have been a different person. You would have been moving in a different direction. And there are not many other occupations that do that on a daily basis. There are not really many occupations that can say your stock and trade is contributing to people, is bettering their lives, is making their long-term outcomes, the possibilities for their lives, better. So I would say great occupation. If you're ready to work hard, you will find rewards in this occupation personally that you can't find anywhere else.
Thank you, Dr. Schaefer. All right, we're going to transition from Dr. Schaefer to our panel. Thank you, Claire. Dr. Yusko is going to facilitate the panel and introduce the folks who are here to participate in the panel. Dr. Yusko, again, is the Associate Dean in the College of Education and Human Services. So Dr. Yusko, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Jackson. And thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you get some good information and some develop some passions for teaching, and think a little bit more about what the experiences are of the people who are in the process of becoming a teacher and who have gone through the process and who are now teaching. So that's why we wanted to have this panel discussion rather than just having us talk at you about what we like about CSU. We wanted you to hear from people at different stages and different licensure programs that the college offers. And we're really focusing on a couple questions. One is, why did these people choose to go into teaching? And they may have different ideas about that because they're at different stages along their path towards the teaching career. And what have their experiences been in the CSU teacher preparation program? So we are lucky to have with us Dr. Heather Hill. She is a new faculty member in the College of Education. She teaches our EdSite courses and also teaches some social foundations courses. She was an elementary school teacher herself and was certified as a middle school teacher. We have Christina Burris-Pruano, who is near the end of her teacher preparation program. She's doing internship 1, so she's in her final year, where she is working during what normally would have been a very intensive in-person experience, but she is managing to complete the experience so far all virtually. So that's going to certainly be an interesting perspective. She is an early childhood major. We have Frankie Bolden, who is in her third year or her junior year of the program, who has just completed one of her early field experiences in the middle childhood program in Euclid. And then, so they are still in the process. And then we also have Zoe Kunzman, a recent graduate from our AYA program, which is the for grades 7 through 12. And she is a science teacher who is now teaching at Brush High School. So I'm going to ask the 4 panelists all to unmute yourselves. I think we might as well just stay unmuted instead of going on and off of mute. And we'll start with the basic question, which is, when and why did you decide to become a teacher? And you can just jump in, and if otherwise I'll call on you.
I can go first if it's okay.
Mhm.
I decided to be a teacher maybe like 5 years ago. It was because I didn't plan it. I just started like a volunteer program in Peru where I was living at that time. And in this volunteer program, I had to go every Saturday to teach children in a low-income area outside the main city. And, you know, I didn't have any teaching preparation at that time. It was just the idea to help. And when I was in there, I just fell in love with the profession. I love to be with the kids. I love to see how they had this ability to surprise about things. And, you know, I just felt that passion, that moment. And I said, I want to wake up every day feeling this sense of purpose, feeling that I'm doing something that I feel passionate about. And that's when I decided that teaching was for me.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, so we hear about some passion and some interest in children, right? Those are clearly important things for teaching. Other folks who would like to weigh in?
I can go because my passion, I'll add another P word. I had a level of pistivity, right? And I have a PhD, so I can make that word up, and it's real and it counts. It's a thing. For me, it was, you know, attending school. So I am originally from East Cleveland and from Cleveland, but in middle school and high school, I attended a predominantly white and wealthy school. And so for me, I came out of that, you know, moving across those environments and just really being pissed about the level of inequality that was occurring in our school system and in our communities. And so I actually didn't initially want to be a teacher. I always thought about teaching, but I really wanted to engage in structural change. And so after undergrad, I actually did an internship with the Ohio Department of Education and with the Office of Policy and Accountability. And what I saw in a lot of those meetings were that teachers weren't present. Their voices weren't there. They weren't a part of the conversation. And so I decided, okay, I want to be a part of change. If politicians aren't, directly connected to teachers or to schools, I want to go into the classroom and be with students and be a part of the change. And my goal was to bring as many resources as I could from all over to create, robust learning opportunities and to give students opportunities that, other people had that were normalized in other environments. And so I think over time, I just wanted to, be a part of more change. How can I increase it? And that sort of led me to teacher education, where I wanted to, not just have the opportunity to influence a space, but how could I influence even more spaces? So for me, it was that pain point, and then being in the process and falling in love with just being in a classroom with students. And I also was a coach, a volleyball coach. So I think there's just nothing like getting to be with kids who are unapologetically themselves, and just being a part of their development, and them also being a part of your development, and just building community, building family, while you're also trying to teach and learn. So for me, it's just nothing like that. Again, I came in wanting to, bring about structural change, but in the process, you get so much more from teaching that, it's kind of addictive. So I think there's, again, the combination of being pissed, but then also the passion for just being with kids and, being a part of one another's lives.
Yeah, that's great. So often I feel like we hear from people wanting to become teachers that there's this kind of like, there's the love of what school is, but then there's also the experience of feeling like you didn't get the experience that you would like other students to have, and you want to make that happen. So it's kind of this combination of wanting to do the good things that great teachers have done, but wanting to also do things differently than the poor teachers have done. I think that's great. And also take note that our initial slide was be a teacher, know your history, change the world, right? So that we try to capture some of these feelings in our title slide. Frankie, Zoe?
I'll go next. When did I know that I wanted to become a teacher? I'm a non-traditional student. I'm an older student. I worked as a school secretary in an urban school district for 18 years. During the last 3 years of that 18 years, I decided to become a teacher because I saw what an impact a teacher could be on the lives of students. Much like Dr. Hill, I got into coaching. I had a thirst to constantly be around students. I love the interactions with them, and children are unapologetically who they are. And they're honest. They're honest about who they are and who you are. And I just love the whole everyday, being interactive with children. And it came to me in the last 3 years of my tenure as a secretary. I saw a lot of things, I'm going to be honest, that I did not like in urban education. I saw a lot of negativity. And I decided that either I could be a part of the perpetuation of negativity, or I could work to change that negativity and be a positive light. And so I just made the decision as an older student to step into what it was that I always knew that I was supposed to be doing. I found myself doing it from my desk as a secretary. So I just made the leap.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great story. I'll just
All
turn
right, so
it right over to Zoe.
yeah, I guess it's my turn. So originally, when I first came to CSU, I was actually a biology pre-med major. So I had no intentions of going into teaching. I actually had a plan to go into medicine. But, throughout high school and throughout college, I always had, I guess, a passion for teaching. I was a tutor. It was one of my part-time jobs my freshman year of college to get
make money. And I loved it. It was so fun for me. And not only just the teaching students part of like academics, but also, teaching them their social emotional skills, teaching them how to handle certain situations. That type of stuff is what really stuck out to me. So I changed my career path without really telling anybody, and I came into teaching. So thankfully, CSU has a great secondary program where you can gain your bachelor's degree and in addition to your student teaching or your teaching license. So I was able to get my bachelor's degree in biology in addition to my teaching license. But for me, being a teacher, I just really love the relationships I get to develop with the students, as well as their families. I love, seeing them learn. I teach science, and science is very fun, and I love, watching students learn about things and how the world works around them. But more so for me, it's what really makes an impact on my life is when I see them learning about, how to be good little people, like good humans and good, members of society. That's what really makes me, drive to be a better teacher. And I find that, every day I'm teaching them and they're learning, but there's also times where I'm learning from them as well. And I really appreciate, those situations in my teaching career.
What is so striking to me about several of your stories is the fact that sometimes teaching is a career that people don't come into college saying, this is what I want to do, but they end up being sort of channeled into it through their various following of their passions or their interests, or even their experiences that just sort of help them make that decision in the end. It just sort of, they just get led that way. And then as long as people are open to following the things that are interesting to them, they find that teaching really satisfies them in so many different ways. So that's really cool to hear that. We're going to switch a little bit up with, and this is maybe more at the people who have a little bit more of the experience, but so you decided that you wanted to become a teacher and you started to pursue education courses for becoming a teacher. So since going into teaching or since in your field work, how does the experience of being in a classroom compare with what you expected that it might be? So you had this idea going in, how does that compare with what you actually are experiencing out in the field? And maybe we'll start with Zoe and Dr. Hill, since you guys are a little further along the teaching career pathway, and then we'll work our way backwards.
Yeah, I can start if that's okay. So for me, obviously, this is my first year teaching, so it's been very crazy. I had the opportunity to teach in person as well as remote. So the thing with teaching for me that I'm really learning this year that no class could have prepared me for is the amount of, flexibility and resiliency that you need to have as a teacher. You never know what is coming or what's going to get thrown your way. So you're going to always have to be able to adapt and just make the best out of any situation. For me, even if everything is going terribly on my end, my kids don't need to know that in my classroom. So you just got to get through and make sure they think you know what you're talking about. But every day can pose a new challenge. You can never expect everything. You can never be prepared for everything. But as long as you keep a good mindset and that you care about what you're doing and you're really there, to be a good teacher, everything usually works out okay.
Yeah, I would second with what Zoe said. And also, I think like in my earlier years, I wasn't prepared for how invested I would be in children's lives. So the work-life balance, because I was attending football games, you're seeing people, in at church or in all these different places, and now you can find yourself deeply immersed in the children's lives, and they're deeply immersed in your lives, and sometimes not having boundaries to protect your little self-care, to engage in self-care. As you can see, I don't know if you can hear my family running. I don't know what's going on up there. I'm sorry. I was going to pretend like you couldn't hear it, because sometimes I do that, so people question whether it's somebody else. Anyway, so I think the biggest challenge for me going into it was the work-life balance. And it didn't, the being in the field, or as a student, you aren't necessarily prepared for the amount of investment, not just your time, but your emotional investment. And sometimes stories work out well, and sometimes things don't work out well. And just kind of flowing with it and being able to create boundaries between your home life and your personal life. Just the socio-emotional dynamics of just being in community with a group of people every day, day in, day out, during school, after school, just the challenges of balancing all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a 9-to-5 career, right? Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. That's right. I mean, again, it's about being drawn into, right? It's the kind of work that you're drawn into because of what it involves. So Christina, I guess you're the next working our way back. So how is internship 1 compared with the rotation experience?
Well, first is virtual, which is a little bit different in a lot of senses, but I think it's like, as the other panelists mentioned before, is like that moment in which you realize that there are 22, like I have 22 students, and it's like 22 lives are now in your charge, and you're like, you have to think about how you get to them and how you can differentiate your instruction. And in the real life, like maybe you plan your lessons and you think, okay, I have these ready for everybody, but when you get there, they might not understand in the first time, or there might be English language learners. There might be so many different types of students that you need to sit down and think, okay, how can I reach everybody and how can I help everybody? And I think that is very different from what when you start learning about, or you become a teacher, like at the beginning of the program, you're like, maybe, okay, this lesson plan, I'm doing it and it's going to be great for everybody. But then when you are in there, you're like, okay, no, I have to make different changes. And the more you learn about your students, because at the beginning, you kind of pretend you have your pretending group of students that you want to reach. But when you're in the field, then you have the real ones, and it's better, it's nicer, because you're like thinking about, oh, Johnny, oh, I have this student, I have this other, and you have kind of more purpose. You're more purposeful when you plan because you know them, and that's really, really interesting to see that change.
Yeah, nice. Frankie, how about you? So you went right from rotation 1, which is a very short field experience, into rotation 2, which is much more significant, and also virtual, right?
That is correct. We did have an opportunity to actually visit Euclid Middle School in person. So that was interesting. And the students that I have come in contact with, I can honestly say it's been very rewarding. I have no misgivings about the amount of time. A little known secret, I'm married to a teacher. So I have witnessed from that side of it, knowing the amount of time that he has had to put in. And I could definitely relate to Dr. Hill in the statement about those boundaries and having that personal time. Over the years, he was a CSU student, and just over the years, just coming into contact with so many kids. There are students who I have fond memories of his, and they have literally become a part of our family. Others who, just they remember me, I don't remember them, sort of thing. But it's been rewarding, even in those trying times. As the wife of a teacher, it's been rewarding to see those relationships, to witness that for him. And then just for me personally, when we did the rotation 1, we were at Marion Sterling School in Cleveland, and it was right at the cusp of the pandemic and everything shutting down. We got out of there pretty much, but in knowing one of the students actually who at the school that I had worked at transferred to that school, so we had a little history together. she found a way to get in contact with me because I had ordered some popcorn. They were doing a fundraiser, and she wanted to be so honest in what she was doing. She made a way to get in touch with her teacher, to get in touch with my husband, to get in touch with me, to let me know, hey, I didn't cheat you out of your money, but we're not in school right now. What should I do? So the experiences have been rewarding. Again, I have no misgivings that not every experience will be rewarding, but overall, positivity.
Excellent. I'm aware of time now, and also wanted to give a chance to the participants here. If you have specific questions, this is your chance to ask current students and graduates of our program any questions that you might have. So does anybody have a question that you would like to pose to one or more of the panelists? Okay, then I guess I just have one, well, I guess we're going to move on to the program. I was going to ask the panelists just to share a little bit about their program, but I think you've gotten a sense from collectively from their responses about the kinds of experiences that are part of our teacher ed program. And moving forward, we're going to be talking a little bit more about how the programs themselves are structured. So the panelists may weigh in again if they want to clarify any things about the nature of their experiences. And also just invite all of the participants, if you do have questions, just feel free to chat them in the chat box and we'll try to make sure that they get answered before we conclude the session. So thanks to the panelists, and we will look forward to hearing a little bit more from you a little bit later on. And now we are going to turn it over to a brief overview of the programs from our director of our Student Services Center, which is our advising office. And this is Dr. Carrie Kaufman, who is here. She manages a team of, I believe it's 6 advisors and staff who manage our social media. So I'll just turn it right over to Dr. Kaufman to share information about our program.
Great, thank you. I just want to thank everyone for being here and spending the evening with us. I know I might just ask before I get started what program that you're interested in or that you're thinking about, if you have an idea of maybe what grade level you're interested in teaching or subject area. So Kyle, are you willing to start us off and let me know maybe what you're thinking about as far as teaching?
Yeah, I'd like to teach high school, I think. So I'm in a place where I'm between teaching high school, teaching college, but I have experience. I've tutored high schoolers and middle schoolers for a couple of years now. And that's, I still keep in touch with all of them. So that's like my favorite age group to work with at this point.
Great, thank you. How about Stephanie? Stephanie, do you want to share, or you could, if you can also put it in the chat if you want to let us know if there's a specific grade level or anything.
Probably high school. I'm scared of younger ones. So
yeah, you gotta find where you're comfortable and you're find definitely.
Yeah. So what subject? That I don't know. I have no idea what subject yet.
Okay.
But definitely high school, I'd say.
Great, thanks. And then Stephen.
I'd like to teach high school and eventually go on to teach college someday. I'm really looking at teaching right now while I'm finishing up graduate degrees when I start that program next semester, and then kind of developing a feel for how I enjoy the field and hopefully maybe continuing at the collegiate level someday.
Okay, great. Similar to Kyle, it sounds like. So thanks for sharing. So I'll just give you a general overview. I know everyone here is interested in teaching high school, but I'll just give you a quick overview of what we offer in case you're exploring other options. So we do offer programs, basically all of our programs are driven by how the state of Ohio licensed teachers based on that subject and grade level, kind of what we just discussed. So we do offer 3 majors that lead to teacher licensure if you were interested in teaching pre-K to 5, in which case you would take a methods courses in teaching all subjects, because you'd be teaching all subjects in those grade levels. And then middle childhood, which is grades 4 through 9. And you would select 2 subject areas from the 4 core subjects. So math, science, social studies, reading, language arts, math, science, social studies, reading. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so you would select 2. And so as you kind of move through the grade levels and what you're teaching gets more advanced, you're kind of narrowing down in the subject area. So you're only selecting 2 and kind of focusing on that. And then we offer a major in special education, which would be in mild, moderate, or moderate intensive. So those are K-12 programs, but divided by the educational needs of the students. So in this case, if you enter one of these programs, you start as a pre-education major. And then get into the program after taking 30 hours. So then on the next slide, we can kind of talk about the different licensure programs that we offer. So this is kind of where, if you're interested in teaching high school, which is grades 7 through 12, you would enter one of our programs that you see listed here. So we have a special curriculum called CSU Teach that focuses on teaching grades 7 through 12. So in the past, all of our education majors kind of were all together, depending on, didn't really matter what you wanted to teach in the foundations courses. So what we've done in this program is focus that instruction education courses on what you specifically want to teach. And so we offer licensure programs which can be added to an undergrad major. So if you're currently majoring in math or science, you could add this licensure to your current program plan. You could also finish and graduate and come back as a post-baccalaureate student, so someone who already has a bachelor's degree, and just take the classes for the teaching license. So you have a lot of options to, to continue education and obtain your license. So people who are in these programs, if you are an undergrad, are majoring in your subject area. So they're majoring in social studies or language art or English or math, and then they pick up the classes for the license. So for the 2 of you who mentioned, maybe going on at some time to teach at the college level, this is a great program for you because you're able to major in your subject area. You're able to go on, that kind of sets you up to get a master's in your subject area, and then, kind of continuing on that path if you're interested in teaching at college at some time as well. So these are the different areas that we offer licensure, again, in the high school 7 through 12, and then also we offer the foreign language, which is K-12, and music education. So all of we have basically, based on how the programs are divided on those 2 slides, have 2 different curriculum models, but both are clinically based. So giving you the opportunity to get out in the field early and essentially kind of take what you learn in the classroom about teaching and apply it in an actual K-12 classroom. And so through these, as we've created these different curriculum models, have developed partnerships with schools that allow you to do, kind of practice what you're learning, and then also having a final year of internships where you're out in the field for your last year, both in the fall and spring semester. So you also have an opportunity at this point, like if you were interested in exploring the field of education, to kind of take that first class in the program. So if you were kind of exploring one of the majors that we talked about on the first slide, so P5 or middle or special ed, that falls under our CREATE curriculum. And the first field-based class, which means you'd be out in the field, is this spring. And it's a combination of 3 classes that you see listed here for 6 credits that gives you an opportunity to kind of explore the field of education and also be out in the field and see if you like being in the classroom. And then I know you mentioned being interested in teaching high school, which we talked about being our CSU Teach curriculum. And so we have a step 1 course, which provides the same type of opportunity. It's 1 credit, and it would give you the opportunity to go out and, again, explore the field and kind of and gain an understanding of teacher education. Just keeping in mind, if you are exploring education, there are specific admission requirements. So if you're currently taking classes, this is something that you want to keep in mind and work on. If you want to add education licensure to your current program plan or come back and after you graduate, we do look for a certain GPA and completing a certain number of credit hours. And you also have to do the background check, which is a requirement so you can go out in the field and do those field placements. So the important part, like even if you don't meet any of these requirements now or you're working on meeting them, would be to meet with an advisor in the ESSC, which is within my office, and you can meet with someone. And even if you're not on track right now to meet all of these, they can work with you to get on a pathway so that you can meet all the admission requirements. And so these are all the great people that work in my office who are here to help you. So I encourage you you can even take a picture with your phone or the phone number, our email, and our location. We're currently working remotely right now, but you can certainly reach out to us by phone or email. And, if you're, obviously expressing some interest, just give us a call and you can talk further with one of the advisors in our office.
Thank you.
Okay,
Jen.
at this time, we're going to turn it over to Dr. Galetta, and she's going to describe rotation 1 and step 1. Dr. Galetta?
Thank you, Claire. I think I'm going to emphasize some unique aspects of our program since the three of you are interested in the high school area, Kyle, Stephanie, and Stephen. So let me just, a few things here. In our teacher prep program, there's a commitment early on with teacher candidates to learn from students and teachers in the K-12 urban setting. You may have heard this already in some of the experiences that have been narrated here. With our partner schools in the Cleveland District and surrounding suburbs, we share goals for children and adolescents, well-being and academic growth. Moving through the program, we expect you'll develop content knowledge, instructional skills, and assessment strategies. I've also found as a faculty member teaching students, especially in rotation 1, that we also expect you to be able to reflect on your craft, to step outside yourself in a manner of speaking and see how you are engaging your students, to be able to see how you might be read or understood, and to consider how you're understanding others. This is a dispositional dimension that's strengthened, we find, as you move through the program. It requires a commitment on your part, one that I can promise is meaningful, as it changes your life, as it is also changing the lives of others. And I just really want to leave it at that. Those are some unique aspects around our program in terms of our urban partnerships and in terms with our attention to the reflection in your own professional practice. Thanks.
And lastly for you, we have Courtney Nudell. She's going to be talking about some of our unique opportunities we have here at CSU. Courtney.
Sure, thank you, Claire. I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about the fellowship programs that I have been coordinating for the last 5 years. So as you probably know, traditionally teachers do field work voluntarily and not paid. So across campuses, you can do an internship in business or in science, and you can also get paid for it. With teaching, it is time that you spend in the classroom and there's no money associated with it. So our dean, Zach, who had to sign off, went to our largest partner in CMSD, the Cleveland Schools, and they decided to do something revolutionary that does not exist really anywhere else. We've had schools across the country replicate our model. And so what we did is 5 years ago, we created a fellowship program that is creating a pipeline of future teachers for Cleveland and other urban districts. So as Dr. Galetta had mentioned, our urban focus, We partnered with CMSD 5 years ago, and then we've also partnered with the Breakthrough Schools, which is a charter school in Cleveland this year for our first year, to create this pipeline. And so students apply the spring before their final year, and this fellowship program is for their entire final year, where they are in a cohort model in either Cleveland or Breakthrough, and it's a paid program where they receive a stipend of over $6,000. And they participate in professional development opportunities. You have direct connections with the human resources of the individual school districts. So we are working on getting you prepared to apply for and ideally work in those school districts. We are lucky a couple of the students on the panel are part of the fellowship program. We are really excited about it because it gives us the opportunity to offer additional professional development that might not be possible at other times. So for instance, we do sessions on urban education, poverty, differentiation. So we do a combination of topics pertinent to you as a teacher, but then also you in the classroom. And so this program really allows you to build those connections across licensure areas because it's for all students in the College of Education. And we're really excited to be able to continue this program. And if we can find more money, we would love to expand it for a lot of different districts to be able to allow our students to be as integrated as possible. So in addition to the sessions and the stipend, our fellows are also involved in giving back to their schools. So they could be doing tutoring or working with extracurricular activities. And then we also, pre-COVID, and we'll figure out what it looks like this spring, do a shadow day program that allows you to see other school districts. So you spend 1 year in a district and really become a teacher. And then we provide opportunities for you to see other schools and other buildings so that you can find the best fit for you. So our goal is really to be able to provide the best experience for you to know where you'd like to teach after you graduate.
All right, thank you, Courtney. Okay, the time has come. We should probably do a drum roll. Dr. Jackson, if you would like to do the giveaways.
Sure. So for attending today, we do have 3 things that we're going to give away, and they were randomly chosen based on how you entered the room today. So Stephanie, someone will be reaching out to get all 3 of your email addresses, or all 3 of your home addresses, I apologize, to mail you these gifts to your home, since we can't hand them to you on a stage or something else. So Stephanie, you will be receiving the lunchbox. There's a lunchbox here. It has CSU Teacher Education logo on it, so you'll be receiving that. And Kyle, you'll be receiving this athletic bag. It's a pretty good sized bag that we have in the department. And then Stephen, you'll be receiving this messenger bag, all 3 with the CSU Teacher Ed logo. So expect an email tomorrow from someone in teacher education to get your home addresses, and then we'll get you those mailed to you as soon as we can get to campus and get them in the mail. So sometime before Christmas, you'll get a gift from CSU for attending today. I want to thank all of you for coming today, spending an hour with us right around dinner time. I'm sure either we all stuffed our faces at 4:30 or we're about to go run and get some dinner. So thank you to all of the panelists, to our current students. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Heather. To all the professors, associate deans who made time for this evening. We do plan to host another one of these probably in January. So for the students, if you know folks who are interested in teaching, please let them know if you thought it was great. I'm just going to assume that you did because they're all still here an hour later. So let folks know that these things are happening at CSU, and we're excited to have you. All right, thank you, everyone.